Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Whoops. Let me get that back. Finally updated some settings. That might have been out of date. Might have been the reason that I was cutting out yesterday. So let me know how my audio sounds, please. Let me know if you need it louder or softer. I would appreciate it. If it sounds okay, that's also good to hear. Hopefully this will be a much better experience for everybody today. Yeah, lots to chat about, huh? This is getting exciting, but perhaps getting exciting in a way that no one wanted. I'm just looking at the daily. We went down to 98K, just below 99K overnight, my time. And still well down from, a comfortable 110,000 at the moment. Try to work through some charts here, work through some things. Also want to show you guys, the power trend relative to some of these on-chain indicators, because I think both help a lot. All right, here's we're gonna look at Bitcoin here. A lot going on in the world, right? A lot going on. Donald Trump was president during the 2017 bull, which is all the way back here. Right? It's wild, I think, to see the old crypto winter, as they called it before then. Look at how many Bitcoins were in loss, right? Judging by the UTXOs, right, when they last move. Over 50%. Then when we had that boom, look at what we had. Right? As we start to move, back to all-time highs, look at the price here. I'm looking at it in linear scale. The start of 2017, we got to $1,000. Eventually, by the end of the year, we're at $20,000. But look at these little bumps. Okay, so as each peak comes, you're going to have more green. But then you got scary moments where the price retreats, right? So March, it went back down under 1,000, where it was already 1,000 in 2017. So you get these little scares where the red rises. Okay, it's the wall of worry. And when these peaks become super clumped up, it's just, bear is coming. Okay, so the same thing in 2021. Boom. You have some drops, put a lot of people in negatives. And then once you get back to all-time high, basically everyone's making money, but you still get these little drops. All right, so what's been happening this cycle? Well, we had the long bear, huge proportions become, almost half and half again, become UTXOs underwater. And then we've had this interesting sort of three impulse move. Right, we had it here. ETFs were approved. We had it here on the back of the Trump victory, and then we had it over the summer. And now we're going through some scary times, going through some softness. I think it'd be sad for a lot of people if well, let's look at what's happening here. This mountain. If this mountain right here turns into, say, this mountain, and we just start going down, 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 and UTXOs and losses increase. But as we know, if you look at this on log scale, it doesn't look that crazy, the price. And it certainly doesn't seem like we have these exponential booms relative to the trend, which I'll show you in a second. So it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Oh, thank you. Okay, so is it... I can boost it even more. How do you hear me now? Is it any better? Any better? I'm going so close to redlining on my preamp. May have to change that yet, but let me know if this is better. Okay. Thank you. Should be better overall today. Hopefully it shouldn't drop the audio. Switched switching things in the background. I can go a little bit louder even. If it's too loud or poppy, let me know. Let's look at it now in percentages. Okay, so this is just percentage terms, profit and loss. Thank you very much, WW. All right, same deal. All right, so obviously Super Bowl when, 100% of the UTXOs are in profit. And then we have to see what's the number where we really start to slip? Obviously over 20%, over 15%. Okay. Had a little bit of a scare here in 2021, and then down we go in 2022. Cruising into the SBF fraud, Terra Luna, many others. We're not there yet on this chart. This chart still doesn't show. And we did have this big scare, right? Well, I wasn't really worried about this at all. It's just, accumulating phase. But there's no doubt about it. We're, most of UTXOs are still in profit. But if this number slips below 20% over the long term, could spell a longer bear. A lot of people are calling the end of the cycle. A lot. I'll show you a couple other good tweets. Sorry. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you have a long-term view, you can handle these huge splotches of red. All right, everybody knows that Bitcoin always comes back. I do understand the IPO thesis. I understand the IPO thesis. There's a huge amount of rotation. We can see that here. All right, so the long-term hodlers just cash out when the price rises. And we've had, instead of just say one or even two here during the double top of 2013, right? Went up here and then here. But instead of one of these dips per cycle, we're into the third, which is really wild. And, Past is not always prologue, but usually this number bottoms out with the top, right? And it hasn't exactly lined up that way now, right? It bottomed out with this local top, bottomed out with this local top. So far, it's actually going in the right direction as far as, you know, what typically happens. Like usually when the long-term balance starts accumulating, that's when you get a little bit hesitant, even though this is a weird double top, I know. But as you can see here, long-term hodlers accumulate or just don't do anything. Let's look at this percentage terms. By the way, short-term and long-term here is only 155 days. I'm still not quite sure, this is from Research Bitcoin or Bitcoin Lab, why they chose that number. If anybody knows, let me know. It's just different. It's never quite the same each time, right? Let's look now at realized profit. All right, so these are UTXOs that actually cashed out. First on the daily trend, okay? So this is in millions. All right, so total there, 2.5 billion a day was the realized profit. That means basically you take a UTXO when it moved, what was the price when it came into existence? Remember, UTXOs get destroyed and created with every transaction. So as long as that UTXO existed before it was destroyed, what's the profit at the price? 2.5 billion was the daily top in 2017. Daily top actually looks like it was here. There. 6 billion, 6.5 billion in 2021. And now we've had a bunch of them. 10 billion, 10 billion. This was the famous day on July 4th. You remember those like 80,000 Bitcoins moved. These are UTXOs from 2011 moved here. Mostly just from one guy right here, or presumably one person that owned those tens of thousands of coins that moved. Made a cool 10 billion, 9 billion, 9 billion. So let's roll this and see what it shows us. All right. Pretty good top caller. Now, it's a completely different scale now. Okay, I'm just totaling it and rolling it. So let's even take off so you're not confused about anything in the tooltip. It's 30-day rolling realized profit. 32 billion, 2017. A good call. Also here, notice it was a good call relative to the first boom. 58 billion. And then we've just been rising and rising here. 80 billion, 100 billion. Notice now not topping. You know, was this the top relative to this signal? Will this just continue to fall? Nobody knows the future. But it's certainly different. It's not a clear top like that. It's not a clear top like that. There's a lot of sellers. $100 billion worth of profit from old coins. This is old and new, by the way. It's both together over 30 days. I'm not delineating. Just trying to see the pattern. Good morning, Gio. Good morning. All right, next one. Let's look at realized losses. See how that looks. This is a wild figure too, right? Just slightly staggered from the top. These are people that bought bought the top, sold it 6 months later, or not even 6 months later in this case, a month later. Where's sort of wild. Top was here. Everybody bought the top. They started to take huge losses, hundreds of millions. Let's take off the daily just to let this 30-day thing rise. Huge losses taken only 2 months after the top. Not a lot of people sold that dead cat bounce, or if they did, they not part of this realized loss as much. And then everybody, you really see these things when there's an absolute puke in the market. You see just many weak hands go out. A lot of people sold here. A lot of people sold here. Let's see how it looks today, or this cycle. Sorry, let's get a topping in. Let's get some numbers. So 20 billion after that first top, 25 billion after the second top. 25 billion is sort of our relative number. Not too bad this cycle as far as people losing money on these dips over 30 days, right? Again, that kind of is bullish to me. It shows, if these numbers are lower than here, at least according to the cycle theory, we would go higher. But again, I know a lot of people are saying we're not having cycles here, so just have to see. I want to go back to my PSR. It's getting quite cheap. Well, cheap relative to where it was. Remember, this is the market cap divided by the miner revenue. All right. So just forgetting the price for a second. It's a good valuation metric. And by the way, this is always rising. See how this trend line rises? So it's hard to, you have to kind of tell the relative top relative to the trend. But each cycle, we've been over the 90th percentile, which again, I feel like I'm the last man standing to say that we're still could have a cycle top. I'm not saying it has to happen. I'm just wondering why everybody's convinced it's not going to happen. That's my question. Yeah, precisely. Good morning, Ansi. What do you mean exactly 2025 crowd? Do you mean outsized pain via returns? Because 2025 coming in there, obviously hurting a little bit more. Where's my realized loss? Although we haven't had record pain. Record pain would be these people losing 20 billion on a 30-day basis. 25 billion. I mean, I know it's a grinder, but like we're relatively still better. Like, look, this number right now could shoot up to, I mean, let's be fair. If we drop below 90,000, we go to 80, 70, whatever, then this number could shoot up to 30 billion, 40, who knows? Yeah. Better to just not pay attention, right? Morning, Rich. Even though this in total, sorry, even though this in total was a more rounded top, you still had these points, right? These spikes. And you obviously had the spikes here going higher. This amazing how much different this is, right? Just very gentle. And maybe that's it. Maybe the 8, maybe it's the top. I don't know. Be prepared for anything. But I could easily see this rebound and, you know, gold holders rotate into Bitcoin and all of a sudden we're back above the 9. Yeah. He's been wrong about a few of these rotational cycles, though, has he not, over the last 5 years? Go ahead. You can, as you get me my coffee, Gio, you can look at his calls that he's made in like the last 5 years. I feel like not nearly as good as 15 years ago. As I said in the title, nobody said it was going to be easy, right? This is clearly an uptrend, all right? It's bullish. It's bullish. But we're going down from an uptrend. And it doesn't, you never know the top until you're out of it. It just seems so mild to me relative to this, relative to this, relative to this. Maybe grandma will give 16-year-olds a lot of Bitcoin at Thanksgiving this year. It's just very muted. It's very, you guys know the story, right? You know how many people took profits, right? We had record profit taking for sure, specifically here at 100K. Yeah. And usually the really, flimsy hands, non-diamond hands holder, they can realize those losses quite quickly after the top. 2 months after a big move here, a month. Obviously, it happened during the time, but I'm just taking the 30-day. Here's what to me seems most likely. It seems like we're going to have another dip. You're going to have this rise up to a significant number. All right, let's take off the daily. Just look at the monthly, or the monthly rolling. Maybe you get to 20 billion and realize losses. A lot of people give their coins to iBit or whatever. Start selling it 99, 98, 95, 90. But then I think we could go up again. Famous last words, right? I mean, it could be like this. Could be that we're coming to here. And what we see today is something like this, right? Like this little run up could go way higher. And then that's it. That spells the top. Whoops. I didn't show you some political stuff a little bit today too, but we'll hold off on that. Let me show you the top 90 because I still think people are jumping the gun here. That's for sure. Good evening, Tim. Good evening. Yeah, thanks. That's perfect. That's something like that I was thinking. Precisely. Why is that going there? Hold on. So if this was, in fact, the top, all we got to was the 8. We didn't get to the 9. We can look at this other one in terms of dollars and also see that it's just it's very different this time. And maybe it is. Maybe the IPO theory is correct. But of course, the question is going to be, is it going to fall as much as it did in prior cycles if this is the top? No, I think it probably just stays close to the power trend. But we're just nowhere near. Look, this is the 90th and up. We're nowhere near prior cycles. Right? 125K by year end. 250 is the 90th. If Bitcoin becomes not worth 26, 27 ounces of gold, but 60, which is the trend, we could get back here very quickly if the gold bugs rotate in. But what do you guys think? Are you ready to call it? Are the cycles done? Are we just hanging around the power trend? Are we going to dip a little bit? I feel like there's a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. I don't know. I haven't followed everything he's done there. But I will show you the old what Bitcoin is contending with right now. So as I showed yesterday, this is why Bitcoin is seen as not exciting, right? So this is the top 8 tech stocks in America. Broadcom, Oracle, those are the lesser sort of market cap values, but otherwise it's everyone that you know, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, NVIDIA. Long-term trend, it's a great trend, 98%, 24% CAGR, and then short-term trend competes with Bitcoin, 40% CAGR right there. And then how long to break through the top of the long term at only a multiple of 1.37, a year and a half. Totally could happen, by the way. Totally could happen. So I think people are looking at this. They're seeing all these data centers getting built. And look, this percentage gain competes with Bitcoin. 41% is right on the Bitcoin power curve. So it's totally probable, by the way, if you've won at, I don't know, 100, 200% CAGR in Bitcoin since 2011, you get out of that, we rotate into tech. A lot of cash around, a lot of cash. Same idea, but with gold. All right. We're obviously in, nosebleed territory. How much more nosebleed can we be? The Peter Schiff trend, which you would love, which is insane, but same. 40% trend over the last 2 years. Exact same thing as AI, basically. Just cherry picking the trend here. And then how long before that takes over? The gold, old top bound? A year. What was the bet? I'm talking to Danny on Friday, by the way. Yeah, that's totally logical, Rich. I think that's probably spot on. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. There's so much Wall Street cash in these products now that um, I agree. It's totally likely that you don't have, if you don't have the cycles, then you don't have the booms and the busts, and or if you don't have the boom, you don't have the bust, let's say, and thus not the cycle, like Rich said. So what I think is fascinating though is we're also dealing with these two industries that are booming: is AI and gold. Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. I need to probably start getting just regular, at least some regular technical trends like the 50-day and the 200 or things like that. Danny said 220K by 2025, like January 1st or something. Who do you bet? This is to me the most fascinating chart right now. Bitcoin in terms of gold ounces. It's almost like psychological numbers too, right? It's like 10 ounces of gold per Bitcoin. Do we get back to that number? Well, even the 10th percentile says we don't at any point. It's at 22. Could we rip through that? Of course. But this is such a wild chart to think about. Um, like here's when it hit 1. Look at all these numbers turn from 0 to 1. It was 8 years ago. I think we all on this chat right now know that that's never happening again for sure. barring some disaster. But this is so cheap, and I just don't see it going to here. I'm willing to put my neck out for that. I mean, going to 10K is just, sorry, going to 10 ounces of gold per Bitcoin is so low relative to the trend. Who did Danny bet? Let me know if you want it any louder. Trying to work through this. Still may have to get a new preamp. This one's like 8 years old, but it's pretty. I like it. So yeah, I think this is the most interesting. I really do. I think most of the gold bugs in the world know about Bitcoin now. I think they know the trend. Even if they don't understand it like we're looking at this, they don't understand the power trend. They see, you know, okay, we're at 25. We're at 25 today, right now. 25.65 ounces of gold per Bitcoin. Trendline says it should be 60. And we're in a bull market, not a bear market. All right, taking it louder still. Let me know if it starts to redlining in the app. So, okay. Again, usually when this is coming down, we know that the top's in. It's still going up. Doesn't mean it has to always happen that way, right? Like this one was sort of going up and then flat and then came back down. So it's definitely different. This cycle is different, no doubt about it. Actually, I think this one is the most interesting. I mean, look at this. In every cycle, if this orange line like blows off, it's a top. Top. Yes, we had the double top, but so this is technically possible. That could happen again, basically. But I feel like this is going to blow off. 100 billion is our number to beat. 100 billion realized profit from old UTXOs. And that's just during this cycle. I mean, it's still an uptrend. You probably said it before. Sorry, if I don't remember. I'll ask him. How do you think this guy's feeling? And this prediction, this is a recent article, but he made this prediction like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. Joker stuff. I think he deleted the tweet, as he usually does, but he said something like the Power Law crew will sell in February. Like no one said sell in February of this year. He just makes things up. It's good times, though, right? I mean, nobody can be disappointed with all this. I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't all so sad. We'll come to this in a second. I have some stuff. Good morning, Sandro. This is all you need to know about Plan B's predictions. Closer to an exponential curve than a power curve, which is not what Bitcoin does, as you guys know. It's such a wild world, though. I mean, Trump gave an interview with 60 Minutes, which is just like ancient legacy media. Also settled with him $15 million for no reason, basically, because they wanted to get a merger done with their parent companies. And, you know, they're talking about crypto markets now. He's like, I don't know who CZ is. I pardon him. I don't know who he is. Like, that's such a flex. I'm more and more wondering, though, if we go exponential with Bitcoin. It's not going to be exponential on the one. It's going to be exponential on our current trend, which is somewhere here. And say if we do it by the end of the year, you start on this trend. It's great for Bitcoin price, but it's terrible for sort of freedom. Because it just means more inflation, more fiat stuff is going to be packed in. It's hard to see the difference on log scale, but look at that difference. Let's even go to like 2030. Oh, interesting. Actually, not that big a difference by 2030. I thought it would be more. But this shows you the power of compounding. Constant growth. So this, by the way, is the same growth that Bitcoin would finish off the year at, 42%. It's actually less than 42%. I think I just did it the day of whatever the daily growth was of 2025 when it finishes to make this trend. So it's, I don't know what it is exactly, but it's 40. You know, if it really was an IPO of Bitcoin that just happened and, you know, crypto gets bogged down in U.S. government regulation for another 5 years, and they start to take away withdrawals after Trump gets prosecuted when he leaves office. Just theorizing, by the way. Maybe he doesn't leave office. World Liberty Financial. By the way, did you see the news? It was Binance. What did Binance do with USD1? They list, not only of course did they list the token, but they structured some deals in terms of USD1, which is Trump's stablecoin. So Trump just wants some of that cheddar that Cantor and Lutnick have been earning. Very corrupt days. So again, to be perfectly clear, the natural thing that Bitcoin's doing is this, right? Runs on a power trend. It's a sustainable curve, but it's a lower growth every year. The markets don't do that. Markets go like this, exponential growth, at a much lower rate than this. This is just a shoehorned exponential figure, this green number. But maybe Bitcoin turns into something like this, more gradual. It's better for the numbers, worse for Bitcoin, because what this is going to mean is just you're getting a lot of fiat interest, a lot of fiat currency piling up here. Either scenario is possible. Just don't know at this point. But going back to this, it certainly looks like again, I may be the last one holding out for a pump, but you know, if everybody else is right, and we're now just staying very close to the power curve, we're not pumping or dumping too much. Then honestly, anything is possible for the future. I think, it's a good question. I mean, the easy way would be, sorry, we gotta move those over. I'm gonna show those in a second. The easy way would be if it got up to here. I mean, it's just clear that this is red zone. This is nosebleed territory, right? There's no doubt about it. Historical precedent relative to the trend, that's what it is. Hyper Bitcoinization is not coming anytime soon. But I think if you don't need, if you don't need the money, if you don't need like fiat cash liquidity, again, never financial advice, but we're right at fair value. For as crazy as the markets are right now, and as so many jitters, if you take a little profits now, price goes down, you buy more, great. If you take a little profits now and then we boom, maybe you'd be a bit sad, but I will admit, I'm starting to seem like the only person that says we could possibly still boom. Although you're with me, right, Jimmy? You're with me? Definitely, like, this is Wall Street money doing this. This is, as Jimmy said, they're trying to shake you out. $3 million per token per Bitcoin. Yeah, 100%. Good morning, Mark. Yeah, I mean, if you just always zoom out, you always look at the trend, avoid the Malox moments. There's never anything to be super scared about with Bitcoin. We know through history the worst you'll go through is 2 years of a like super downward trend typically, right? And maybe it usually turns around even in a year and a half. We saw it did that here, right? So it was December 17 to November 18, but then already by spring of 2019, so a year, less than a year and a half, we started to go up. Now we did have this, it's probably too optimistic of a boom here, and then we had the flash crash, but so you could say all year, or all told, it was over 2 years, but everybody knows that. Everybody knows that by now that we could have these long, drawn out cycles, but it certainly doesn't seem like, as you guys have been saying, I mean, we're just not in nosebleed territory. We're in shakeout territory. Hello, Rick. Yeah, I can for sure as well. The wild thing is, though, remember, Bitcoin's 40% falls if it follows the power trend. Tech, AI, and gold is not. It stays exponential and it keeps going. And honestly, like I don't think there's enough of the power curve people that are asking this question that I've been asking a lot. But you know, it's a sad future in my mind because it's probably a future where withdrawals are frozen and a lot of things, but or it's just way over regulated, KYC, all the rest. But if Bitcoin just becomes a mirror, sort of a safe haven mirror that's kind of like super regulated, but you know, it's possible that it will start going exponential, which again is better for the price, but it's not as natural as what a power curve does. So it's it'll be very interesting. Good morning, MP. I want to give you a brief interruption with some freedom news. So obviously Mamdani won in New York. This is a little bit older, but I want to read this because this is in my mind. I'll just read from Richard Hanania. If you don't follow this guy, he's pretty funny. Richard Hanania, or Hanana, I don't know how to say his name. Chinese woman swam 8 hours in 1976 to leave communism behind. She arrives in America. Her sons go to attend Cornell and MIT. The kids support Mamdani. The parents struggle to understand why. It's basically what's happening here. And then Kasparov, one of my favorites. No personal experience. As with Trump's authoritarianism and the anti-Semitism rising on left and right, Marxism and its stalking horse, democratic socialism, spreads easily among those too young and or ignorant of their story. The moral clarity of the Cold War is long gone. This is where we are right now. I mean, Mamdani, obviously, like anybody, I think close to Bitcoin knows that those are not going to be long-term sustainable policies. The mayor of New York, though, I was reading a little bit about it. He can't set all these wages for all these public workers. Like that would have to be done on a governor level. So a lot of the stuff, anyway, he's promising can't be done. But yeah, he's just pure pie in the sky socialist. But of course, as well, these are what's the word? These are rebellion votes, rejection of Trump. These are anti-Trump votes as well. So that's an issue. So then we have what we're dealing with, and I want to show you. I don't watch this guy at all. I would implore you guys not to, but you see clips. Tucker Carlson, why doesn't Poland go to war with Russia? If you're upset, go and defend Ukraine yourself. Why am I paying for this? Go to your cavalry charges or whatever. Which is another nice dig because Poland had the last cavalry war against Russia in World War I, so at least someone told him that, and he thought he'd be funny. You can tell idiots like Tucker Carlson in America hasn't paid anything all year. Some of this money that Europe is paying is buying American weapons, but there's been nothing that America has done. They delayed a lot of aid here. And then finally, when it started to pay out, they stopped it. So the U.S. doesn't pay anything. He's just purely gaslighting. Does anybody think Trump's going to stop this? These are daily drones. And I think these are actually shot down. I think there's more, actually. This is the military's numbers. I think this is confirmed, like a confirmed miss. So it's actually worse than this. But they're not going to stop unless they are stopped. So this is the scary part for us. Wow. Thank you for that story. Yeah, it seems like hysteria in America because it's like obviously Tucker Carlson's not going to agree with someone like Mamdani. So I agree with those points of the right. But the right has just gone clearly wacko with their fascist stuff and not defending against other fascists. So I'm not a fan of Rogan much these days, but he has that saying, right? Which it's not his saying, but how the hard men make good times, good times make soft men make hard times. There's a lot of truth to that cycle, unfortunately. If you guys haven't been paying attention, there's the Russians are getting close to taking this pocket, this railroad town, which is important in Donetsk called Pokrovsk. They've been trying for 20 months, and they haven't taken it. And they haven't gone all through the meat grinder as they used to. The line is so frozen and everything, but this town will probably fall. Ukrainians are trying to beat down as many Russians as they can, but yeah, they're gonna keep going. If the Baltics had their way, Ukraine would have had air superiority right here, and you just kick the fascists out of Ukraine with air superiority. But it's not how the game works now. With when one side has a nuke and the other side doesn't. It's an amazing story. I guess you could say the Soviet communism was slightly more civilized. I mean, they'd still throw you to the gulag. Uh, and like huge proportions of Baltic populace was killed and or deported to the gulag in Siberia. I had relatives that were. There's a family, like a family portrait of like 8 people, parents and parents and kids that were deported. And the wild thing, like the thing that these communist kids or whatever Gen Z millennial kids are not getting is that the it will at least be 2 generations that are going to grow up worse than the prior. And I think probably they're thinking, well, housing's so expensive for us too, so let's just go crazy. Let's go revolutionary. Not going to be good. Hysteria in the United States. What does that do for Bitcoin? Probably rises the price, but probably for gold too. There was one more I wanted to show from Checkmatey. I'm going to speak with him soon, by the way, as well. We can do a stream with him. Super on chain expert. Here it is. I need to ask him about this because I slightly different So at 100K, 57, I'm sure you guys saw this, 57% of all the dollars invested in Bitcoin are now underwater. We price every coin when it last transacted on chain, and this helps us interpret sentiment based on our reference recency bias. We don't think about our coins from prior cycles as much as the ones we bought 3 years ago. So this is an amazing chart. I actually need to square this. I don't know, like this. I don't exactly know how it squares with this. I guess this is just, I don't actually know. I need to square that chart because here it's only looks like 15%. It's a lot of coins, but I guess it has to do with maybe the per unit basis of that coin. Although it doesn't look like that. So when I'll talk to him soon and ask about this. This is obviously enormous. So he's putting 95K as a danger zone point. Good morning, Satoto. Yeah, I guess it has to do with purchases. So if you're purchasing at bigger dollar value, you can have this. It can look like this, look different. But in general, still, I mean, the mass majority of people are above. You know, the real losses where you get half of the coins, that comes during the bear. It's confusing to think about it that way, but he's more of an on-chain expert than I am, so we'll ask him. The thing about the on-chain data is it's not that great of at predicting, in my view, right? So like you're low, 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 meaning most people are in profit, then okay, all of a sudden we go. But if you were here, maybe you would have thought that it would just be like another cycle like this, right? So you wouldn't be prepared that the mountain starts to grow. That's why, in my view, a lot of the things like this are much more helpful, right? Because you can put, like, this is clearly scream and sell signal. I remember tweeting about this actually in 2017. Didn't listen to myself as much as I wish I did, but that's fine. So yeah, I'm keen to talk to him about sort of, did this distribution look any different back in 2017? Maybe it looked exactly the same, just with smaller numbers. Pull the Ukrainian ones away. I do think it's very interesting that both AI, represented here by the market cap of top 8 countries. Whoops, sorry, that I need to be there. That's in trillion. I need to put a B there. I can do it right now. This is billion. So it's 23 trillion is the market cap of these guys. Hold on. But what I was going to say is gold and AI are just booming at 40% right now. So how much longer does that go? All right. So gold growing at 40% for 2 years, year on year, on a trend. And so is AI. One second. I basically think it's gonna bounce off, or it might go like this. That's what I think is gonna happen with gold. You might pull this even like higher on such a super extreme trend, but it's gonna be something like this. It's just not gonna continue. They have scale up issues. They have supply demand issues in the gold industry. It's just not. Peter Schiff's not going to get this. And then the tech. Why is my trends? Sorry, give me 1 second. Let me know if you guys want to see anything else. What's going on there? All right, finally. So with the tech, again, these are billions of dollars. So 23 trillion is the value of the top 8 tech companies in the US right now. Not actually rolling into the 100th percentile, but we will soon. I think it's going to take a year and a half. Yeah, good point, Tim. That's the good thing about Bitcoin, too. I've said it for a long time, but Bitcoin is quite agnostic. Even though people kind of throw the narrative on, like, you know, the US was declining their balance sheet here. Yeah, it did go up here. QE finished here. It really wasn't related at all. And now the US balance sheet's been going down. Right? It's been going down all this period. So that's the good thing about Bitcoin. It's in my view 5% correlated to the real economy. 95% to the power law. So that's what I'm gonna speak to Checkmatey soon. We'll talk about it. This is his chart. This is short term. It's a cohorts, right? So it's people that it's the amount of money invested at these cohorts, at these prices, this much money invested. So here's like $60 billion, you know, there's a lot of money came in here at 112 or 13K. They're underwater. So this is unrealized. Unrealized. It's probably the U here. I don't know what RPDR is, but unrealized profit distribution is what this is. But I actually am concerned or confused slightly because this is also unrealized profit distribution. And it only shows 15% total. But I guess he's drawing it a different way because you have like coins that were purchased at these crazy levels translate into crazy amounts of money paid in and underwater. Whereas even though all these other, UTXOs are in profit, they came in at much lower levels. So you can draw this cohort chart like way different. But my question would be, how did this snapshot look in 2017 or in 2021? So I'm not sure it's an interesting chart. Yeah, I enjoy him too. I definitely enjoy his work a lot. Highly recommended. It's a good question, Tim. You'd need to see major. Did I not have the top 10 today? So you need to see, years of being like down here. Let me get the top 10 up for you to show you, but like years beneath the 10th percentile and falling. And again, if anything, I think we'll break it not to the downside, but to the upside. Because remember, the power trend is a conservative trend. It's a sustainable trend. Here we go. Here's the power trend. I think if anything, we break it to the upside. We go exponential, which every Tom, Dick, and Harry understands that trades. Straight line on log scale. They can draw their straight line TA charts. You can't do that with Bitcoin on a power curve. So I certainly don't see it breaking it to the downside. But breaking it to the upside is it would start to follow this number 8 instead of the number 2. You just have to view it, see if it follows that trend line better. I do actually think that's possible. Here's another thing. Let's go back to my typical charts. Which don't seem like top heavy at all. So first up is this one. Okay, so network revenue, minor revenue, issuance and fees. This is on a daily basis. Okay. Notice the effect of the halving. We were rising, 50 million, 70 million a day, and then boom, cut in half. Okay. But if you put this into let's go 30 days. All right. Clearly followed the top. Clearly followed the top. Confusing double top, but it followed it. And then now we're still building up. Like it seems hard for me to believe that this, without the blow off, it's like we've been saying this stream, without the blow off, why would it go? And if you look at the trailing 12 month, right? So this will take longer to establish the top, right? You have to go a whole year out and then pick in the lower prices. But we're not even at we're just barely at the prior highs. 16.8 billion, so $17 billion, and $17.2 billion. I mean, this thing looks like it could grind higher for a long time. Unless, of course, the price goes to 50,000. Then it would come back down. Notice with each halving, you get a little bit, it saws off a little bit, right? We were at 6 billion a year for miners, $6 billion, fell back down to 4. And then here we were at 14 billion. It just sort of stayed flat and then even fell back down for a second before it picked up the higher prices. And again, the gold markets right now, $400 billion industry. 100 million ounces of gold come out of the ground a year. 4K per ounce. That's a $400 billion industry. Bitcoin is an $18 billion industry, $17 billion. So that screams not necessarily undervalued, but underserved. A lot of potential. That's the one chart I need to update for you guys, or actually, I don't think I have it created. Is let's show this number, not this, this number, which is the annual revenue of the Bitcoin network, compared to the annual revenue of the gold mining network. Basically, annual revenue of Bitcoin mining versus the annual revenue of gold mining. It's still a flea. 5%. So that's super bullish. That's super bullish for Bitcoin. Yeah, he's really, really good. Anything else? Here's a potential top for tech, for AI. It's when it becomes a $35 trillion market cap for the top 8 companies. And likewise with gold, 5,300 an ounce. History sort of shows that you don't get too far outside of that range. I think that's close to what I had for today, guys. Don't freak out. We're in this together. hard to really be a midterm bear, right? Maybe short term, a little more. Maybe we go down to 80. I have no idea, but you know, nothing is screaming blow off top by any means. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot for your comments. It's really important. All right, guys. Have a great Wednesday. Good hump day. I'll be in Amsterdam next week from tomorrow. If anybody's there, seek me out. Should be around most of the day at the conference. I have a panel at 3 p.m. or 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon, Dutch time. And until then, we'll keep putting the charts out. Stay tuned for even tomorrow. It looks like, actually, I'll talk to Czech. We'll do a stream together. All right, so it should be a good one. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Daniel. Take care, guys.